Bonjour, guten Tag, welcome on. And all right, how we going, Cocker? Welcome to Blue Abroad. The teams, usually I have the beautiful Lek Dog. However, because we are a Carlton show, we thought we'd follow suit and have a late out. But Paolo's form in the State League has been impeccable. He comes in. How you doing, Paolo?
Buonasera, mate. I thought I'd go along with the ethnic welcomes for tonight. Very good evening to you. I'm very well, mate. Long day at work, but looking forward to getting stuck into this into teams on Blue Abroad for the very first time.
Well, I mean, yeah, Lake Dog's kept that seat warm, but evidently he's got promoted at work, so that means he's got to go to a horse racing meet and get drunk. So
That sounds good.
it doesn't. I think he's treating me like his wife there and giving me a story that's not true, but I'll let him off. You can join Paolo though. His link is in the little scrolling bar there. Go and support him on the Jumper Punch, and his Twitter is one of the finer Twitters in the Twitter world.
I think it is. Yeah, it's all racing and Carlton based. So if you're interested in those two facets of sport, then go ahead and give me a follow. So, mate, I can't get enough of the screens over the last week, mate. The Monday show, the JP on Tuesday night. Tonight we're doing teams. Tomorrow night is PPI. Saturday's VFL, Carlton and North Melbourne. I'll be calling that game for the AFL website. So tune into the live stream there. If not, come say hello at the ground. And then Sunday I'm doing the VFL again as well. So it's a long week, but it's a good week, a fulfilling week.
Well, I mean, you're a bit like Kim Kardashian at the moment. You're everywhere, aren't you? Everywhere.
Just evidently, I don't think I'll come to fame due to my actions in the bedroom. But we'll leave that for another day, shall we?
Well, you never know. There's always hope, mate. Where there's a will, there's a way. 6:15 is the team's Aussie Azure. I think I've pronounced that right. Probably not. But basically, Paolo, what we do is we just talk rubbish for 15 minutes, which we are very, very good at. Initial thoughts on this one in team selection. Who do you see coming in and who do you see leaving the team this week?
Yeah, well, I think on the Monday show, I said I've had the feeling that there would be up to 5 to 6 changes. I think Vossi and the match committee are going to go whack after that game against Freo. I thought there were a lot of players who were really, really down. And the players I think who were down were the guys on the precipice or on the cusp of being in and out. So one of those, I think Nunes or Cottrell will make way in the wing position for O'Brien. I also think one of them, I think they might even drop both Nunes and Cottrell for O'Brien. And we also have heard Jack Carroll's name mentioned earlier in the week. I think Sam McClure had a bit of mail that Jack Carroll was gonna debut. And I think Liam Stocker's a Monty to come into the team as well. So I'd say those are sort of the 2 to 3 certainties. Yeah, Terry, Blue Abroad, Stocker in surely. But then I think the rest is really up for grabs. Like guys like Martin, Durden, Owies, Fisher are all in line to potentially be dropped back to the reserves. Kemp, Fogarty, Motlop has been listed in the emergency, so he's obviously very close. And yeah, mate, it's really up for grabs, isn't it, at the moment? I'm predicting 5 to 6.
Yeah, I mean, I had Setterfield, Cottrell, Pitternet, Nunes, Parks out, JSOS, if available. If not, that would be Brodie Kemp, Kennedy, Carroll, Lockie O'Brien, and Stocker coming in. Mm-hmm. And I've got Kemp as my emergency if Harry doesn't get up. It's going to be an interesting one because, I mean, you and me both cover the VFL quite a bit as well. What is really interesting about the VFL is the young kids who are probably the next in line are not only playing identical roles in the VFL that they would do in the AFL. However, they are really doing very well as well. They're not chancing it. They're putting a bit of pressure in.
Yeah, I think this was the thing that I've been really not adamant with, but very pleased with this year up until round 6 of the AFL season is that we're having a lot of these guys who are down in the VFL are not being chosen due to players just coming out because of injury and they're forced into the team because of that. They're actually they're actually coming into the team, whether forced or not, with form under their belt. And I know Cottrell and Nunes were pretty poor last week, but both of those players were in good patches of VFL form. Granted, that might be their ceiling at the moment. We know Nunes is obviously there's no upside with him, and Cottrell. I mean, what you see is what you get. I thought he was pretty poor last week. But we've got guys like Carroll who can potentially come in and play a role. Maybe even Williamson. I know that he's been a forgotten name in the last couple of weeks, and I hadn't mentioned him over the first, the early weeks or the early part of this week, but he's sort of been trending upward on his VFL form, which is good to see. I thought he was. Look, I'm not too sure if he's going to absolutely be selected, but he's a player that we could consider on the wing role with a guy like Carroll and alternating with Chera and Walsh.
I've got to say, he stood out last week, Tom Williamson, and what I'm a fan of, and this comes from my round ball love, is everyone always says, you've got to play a left footer on the left-hand side. I like seeing a left footer on the right-hand side, and I thought Williamson played that right wing role. He kind of played what Setterfield's been doing, a bit more defensive, but he's got two massive pluses for me, Williamson. One, he's got a rake of a boot, hasn't he? He can hit the arc from the defensive arc. And two, when he cut inside, it created a wonderful angle for Rio's mentioning Joshy Cripps. Joshy Cripps was on the end of that twice, a big booming ball. It really helps you with the lead patterns. And you look at modern day round sport now, opposite foot players go on the opposite side because it opens up the angle for them to really cause a bit of chaos. So Willow is someone, watch the VFL, because I reckon he has another good week. I wouldn't want to be in that wing position in the AFL team.
Yeah, and I think too, playing on that side as a left footer too, it almost forces you to cut in as well, which is exactly what I think we've lacked that in the last, in those patches that we have conceded goals and the game against Fremantle last week. I think we lacked a bit of dare and a bit of dash with ball in hand. So, Williamson's definitely going to give you that. He's happy to bite off those kicks. And look, I mean, the other guy who I've been super happy with, and he's come back from bone bruising on the knees, is Jack Carroll. I'm hoping he gets a debut. It's a perfect game to debut him in. And we don't know, mate. I don't think they will, but Pitternet coming out, if they want to go with this 2-ruck system, Murkov might have to come in. I don't think he will, and I don't think he's ready just yet. But if they decide that way, they'll go. And I think JSOS and Kennedy are just too integral. Well, JSOS is just, Jack Silvani is so integral to the way this team sets up forward of centre. And I think we really missed him last week. His outlet, as a hit up across the wings and through half forward really allows Charlie and Harry to go to work deep inside 50. So, he's an integral in. And for North Melbourne too, they've got Tristan Jerry out as well. So that's a positive for Tom De Koning, mate. The floor is yours, TDK.
Well, the floor is his, and Murkoff will be an interesting one, won't it? If he, personally, me, the way I stand with Murkoff is what I've impressed about is he's gaining a little bit of confidence, and he's starting to really bully Ruckman. Like last week against Williamstown, he really did bully them. He really did look physical and he looked like the guy had played 50 state games. Yeah. His opposite number has played a lot more football. It was about 58 games from a junior difference. As a ruck, it really did look like Murkoff was the senior player. Yeah. I don't want to ruin his confidence, though, because all it takes is one bad game, and suddenly all that hard work, you're having to rebuild it. He's doing really well. If we can hold off on him for as long as possible, I'm happy. And Carroll, I was but a fool. He's got to come in, hasn't he? He is. Yeah. I remember when we did the draft previews, I said that he's got a bit of Jackson McRae about him. And he really does move like McRae. His first instinct is always to go forwards. It's always to retain the ball. He's happy playing it short, but he can split the game open. He hit Dow on the tip twice under a load of pressure. Yeah. Just double backed and then found that gap. He's a sort, isn't he, Jackie Carroll?
Yeah, I think the one game that really stood out for me was actually last year against Port Melbourne, the game I called at Port Melbourne's Oval, their home ground, and just his ability to, and I think his sidestep away from traffic and his poise under pressure too. When you saw against Werribee, he took his goal in the last quarter as easy as you'd like. I know it was a 25-meter kick, and you should be hitting those, more often than not. But the poise under pressure is, I think, what we're going to see from him. And like, we haven't debuted him. Well, if we do debut him, he's had a good stint in the reserves. He's had a year and a half to develop. We're not rushing him in or anything like that. So, and the same goes for Murkov too. And I think the club as well, they'd look back at last week and say, well, TDK actually did. I think he actually evened out the ruck battle against Sean Darcy, because you look at the clearance numbers and our midfield numbers. Our midfielders got their hands to it, and the clearance numbers were in our favour. So I think they would say, look, Jack's coming back in. I think they are probably going to use Jack or maybe Lewis Young as a pinch hit in the ruck to help out TDK. But I think it's interesting with TDK as well is that, like, we're not really sure. I think his ruck craft may have just waned away purely because they were really focusing on him playing that 50-50 split pommy up forward and in the ruck. So be interesting to see what they do. But obviously, I think TDK is obviously going to be the number one ruck, and I'd be shocked if they debuted Murkov. I don't think it's going to happen. Not until the second half of the year anyway.
Well, we can't miss out on them wonderful sound bites you give us when he delivers a Judd-like bullet inside 50. So let's hope he's not in the AFL team. But the teams are about 5 minutes away. 6:15 is the time. You talked about clearances. It's interesting because when you look at North Melbourne, their stats literally make you want to puke. It's got a real Carlton 2018 vibe about it. But I did want to talk about clearances and stoppages because they did rank bottom 4 for the first 5 rounds, for the first 4 rounds. And the last 2 rounds, last week was the first time they've not only led a clearance count, but they've actually won it as well. So 2 first. And they've actually doubled their scores from stoppages. It was up 7 by round 4. They got 28 last week. It's something that they've started to build. And that'll be an interesting one because on paper, Carlton's strength is their weakness. However, the last 2 weeks, Carlton's has waned by about as much as theirs has increased. So North Melbourne aren't a pushover, but they are a threat. And it is something that Carlton are going to have to be wary of because I get a feeling they're going to be 2018 Carlton. They want us to play ugly. They want to recycle possession. They want to create it, slow it down, have it on their terms. This is the game where Carroll comes in. This is the game where you push it away from the contest and say a big fuck you to David King, the Mel, who keeps going on about transition. Show Carlton what we do.
Yeah, I think, and you said it too, and I think off air, and we were chatting about this, is that you've got to get the ball to the outside. Just get the ball to the outside, and don't make it ugly. Let your skills come to the fore. And look, I mean, I think this is a game too where, I know Jack Carroll, we've mentioned him before, but I think it's a game where you can debut him, and it's not going to be a baptism of fire. I mean, any AFL game is for a youngster, clearly. But I think it's the perfect game to debut him with the likes of, Cripps and Kennedy and all those guys around him to not protect him, but to just, grant his transition into the game, as smoothly as possible. So, there's not going to be a whole lump of pressure on him to come in and have, 30 disposals in his first game. That's not what we want from him. We want him to be influential with ball in hand. And that's what I think we want from all our outside players too. Sard, Williams, Doherty, get on the outside. And that's how you're going to hurt a team like North Melbourne. And that's how 2018 Carlton were hurt. They were so defensive and adamant on making the game a stoppage after stoppage after stoppage. And if you eventually get it to the outside, you're going to hurt them. And that means that Harry and Charlie and the like will be isolated one-on-one. And that's when you go to work. So, look, I'm expecting a pretty cruisy win, but we know if we kind of turn up and decide that we're going to make it an ugly game as well and not try to break free from the shackles, and then we're going to be in for a grind. So, it'll be interesting to see what type of team they pick if they go super attacking, which I hope they do. I
think you've got to. I think in this game, there's no point being cautious.
Yeah.
And my initial feelings, and we'll talk about him, in this lead up is Larky. He's obviously got a good reputation against Carlton, hasn't he? So that'll be one where I think it's an important battle, because I think this is one of them games where Wheatering really wants to get into this game and beat him, because that's probably the one blemish in his football career. But also, I want to see, we talked about pace. I think Carlton are very guilty at times of being very one-paced. And I'm looking at Wheatering as the leader down there to take on a bit of responsibility that Doc has and to look to get the game injected and get the game going.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, they're the leaders down there, and people are going to feed off the way that they're playing. You know, and I think we've seen it, and you were adamant with this, that he sort of started the plague down back and not being able to, you know, generate those chains, you know, and trying to siphon your way through opposition press. And I think he's been way too safe with ball in hand, and then that disease has just relic throughout the team. You know, Sard, Williams, Doherty, all those guys have not really been taking risks by foot, and Newman too, to get the play rolling from half back. And it just means that all your team is pushed up the ground and the opposition defense is set up. So as you said, I think it's attack, and get the ball to the outside. So we'll see what happens on Saturday night. But look, I mean, again, if we stoop to their level and play, you know, play an ugly brand of football, then I'll be a little bit concerned. But I don't think this game is about just get the 4 points. I think it has to be a professional display and a game where we just pick them apart tactically, really.
No, spot on. And thank you, Codstar818, for your donation, $2. That'll get Paolo his coffee tomorrow morning. Carol will have 2 and 17 disposals. I like that.
Yeah, well, that's if he gets named. So I think Terry keeps saying
we're just waiting for the
we don't know if he's named yet. Yeah, well, Sam McClure's mail is usually pretty hot. So if his mail's anything to go by, then it sounds like he'll be playing. And I think he's put together a good patch in the reserve. So I'd love to see him play. I'd love to see. Have we had a debutant this year yet? I don't think we have. We had one?
Well, we've had Hewitt and Chera.
I'm saying as in like first AFL game. I don't think we have.
No, we haven't, have we? No, because Durden's played, Parks has played, all the kids have played.
Yep.
Yeah, so that'll be an exciting one. Terry here, the owner, president, the god of Blue and
whatever you want to call him.
he likes JSOS, big point of difference. He is, and it was interesting last week as well. Not only did JSOS ruck, but also a bit of Will Griggerfield, I've started calling him, because a bit like Sean Grigg, isn't he, in the ruck? Griggerfield.
I don't know. What do you think about JSOS in the ruck? I don't know. Like, I don't think the club really want to play him there. And I don't think that is his best role. But I think if your hand is forced, it's nice to know that he can potentially go in as well. So Jordan Boyd was a debut, was it?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
The two stat guys missed that one, but no.
There you go.
But I like JSOS in the ruck, but I'll tell you why, while we wait for the teams, that it's literally for one reason. He is exceptional at not taking the ruck on. He will stand there and act as next midfielder.
Yeah. Well, it's know your limitations, isn't it? Like, there's no point bodying up and trying to win a tap against a bloke who's probably got, 10 to 15 centimeters and 10 kilos on you. You've got to be smart. So, and I think that was our, not to bring up old wounds, but I think that was our downfall against the Gold Coast. We didn't play off wits, and TDK actually tried to go purely head to head with him. Whereas I think that's just the footy smarts with Jack coming through. We know he's very intelligent around the ball and his running patterns and whatnot, and that sort of his footy smarts have come into play when he has to go into the ruck too. So, look, the onus now is on TDK. We know he's not in the most amazing form, but I think that we did see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But I think we did see a little bit of a reversal from him last week against Freo. I think there was a little bit of a correction, but I think he's just got to start to get his aerial game going and his influence on the contest sort of thrusting us forward. Because I think when he's at his best, I actually think he's winning clearances for us too. As that sort of extra midfield, I know Cruiser will be, ramming that home with him because we know that's how Cruiser played his football too. So it's all on you, TDK, mate. It's all yours, my friend.
Well, I mean, it's probably the best way to learn, isn't it? I get the feeling that for me, it's probably the best way for him to learn because he's going to have to do it. There's no real option for Carlton to not let him have 80% of the ruck. So best way to learn sometimes because he can do it. I think the hard thing for me with TDK is he's had them games where he's broke even with good ruckman. But
correct.
Then for me, the way he approached Wits was the worst way possible. I thought he absolutely approached it mental. So I do believe the teams are coming in.
We do. They're in. They are in. No Jack Carroll. He's not
updated.
No Jack Carroll.
No Jack Carroll. So Carlton have gone with probably a very conservative. Stocker comes in, Lockie O'Brien comes in, Jack Silvani comes in, and Kennedy comes in. Cottrell, Boyd, Parks, Pitner, and Setterfield are omitted. So no Jackie Carroll.
No, that's Scoops McClure. No more Scoops for him. But Stocker in. Yep, big one. Huge. Deserves his spot. Thought he was really good last week down at Werribee, and he will definitely be a man that is not afraid to take on those kicks from fullback. Pommy, and I think a team like North Melbourne will be susceptible to that flying ball, that low flat ball coming through the corridor as well. So he's going to be one who will look to open up the play from half back, which is what we haven't had for probably the last 6 quarters of footy. The second half against Port Adelaide, and then pretty much the majority of the game against Fremantle. So he's a much welcomed addition to this team. And finally, my boy, Lockie O'Brien, gets back into the team. No idea why he was dropped in the first place, but it's good to see him get back into the team off a good VFL game.
Well, there'll be a few players. I'd imagine a few of the comments will be, why is Nunes in? It's quite interesting because we've been talking a lot about what the Carlton do bad. One of them is not getting the ball inside 50, and he actually is the leading inside 50. He's the only winger who has above AFL average inside 50. So I think I would have played Carroll personally, but that says to me there that he's gone with what he knows.
Yeah, it's fair enough too. And, we know that Nunes will also play that defensive winger role if he has to as well. So, look, I think my only knock on him last week was that I know he got those inside 50s, but, I mean, as I said, I think on the Monday show, I said there are about 4 or 5 of them that were just shallow, terrible, poor entries, which is not. I'd prefer Lockie O'Brien to be the bloke using the ball going inside 50. But look, whatever comes of it, I think Nunes will play that defensive wing role, and it'll allow Lockie O'Brien to sort of hopefully get forward of centre. So Setterfield dropped. He was terrible last week, and probably deserves to be out as well. And we'll see how we go. But I think the only two we're probably a little bit concerned about heading towards the end or heading towards match day is Hewitt and Mackay. Is that right?
Yeah, they're in, and for them, interesting. Callum Coleman-Jones, or the debt collector, as I call him, CCJ, he's in. Jaden Stevenson comes back from 2 weeks out gambling, and Aidan Bonner. And Aidan Bonner comes in. So they're in. But no, I agree with you about Setterfield. I think Setterfield for me just not good enough. The Carroll one though is a bit of a surprise, but then again, everyone did trust a guy with a man bun, and I'd never trust him.
No, well, yeah, exactly. I think Stevenson's a dangerous player, mate. He got a hold of us a few times when he played for us against the Pies. But I think that was purely down to Lockie Plowman deciding to give him 10 metres at pretty much every leading lane. But look, Kennedy coming back in will help help us out a little bit. I think it's just another rotation to add through the midfield, which is good. I think I don't know if we miss his hardness around the ball last week, maybe not. But again, it's just, as I said, it's just another rotation to keep extra midfielders fresh. And yeah, I mean, it's a side that goes out there, and we're expected to win. Jack Silvani back in's huge. He's the massive one for me. He's enormous. So he's just so important to the way we structure up forward of centre, as I said before. So I'm excited to see him back in. I think we're a much, much, much better team when he's playing.
Mate, I agree with you. I mean, looking at it on paper, and thank you very much, Jay Ledger. I'm glad I just made poor jokes, mate. Made poor jokes. Once I hit the big time, these players will sue me for some of the things I'll say. But what are you thinking on paper? And you guys and girls in the audience, give me your predictions. What are your initial thoughts looking at that team? What do you think the scores are going to be, Paolo? We know you're the gambling expert, so you probably know Jaden Stevenson personally.
Paul's multi hasn't been performing too well over the last few weeks, but it's still in profit, which is what we're all about. What's the score going to be? My initial reaction earlier this week was going to be was going to be like a 90-65 or an 80-55, something like that. And I still stick by that. I think it's going to be around that 4 to 6 goal margin, personally. I know everyone's going to be calling for it to be, 10 goals, 10 goals, 10 goals, but I don't think it'll be that. I think it's going to be a 4 to 6 goal. We'll have that patch where we bridge the margin, and I think we're just going to hold that as the game goes on. But there's a few interesting predictions here. Blues by 105, Blues by 190.
You know what? You know what? I actually think you might see a reverse Carlton. So I'm going to predict it. I reckon first quarter will be dog shit. I reckon I'm going to be on the live, and I'm going to have people burning their membership in the chat. Right? But I reckon something will happen. I reckon looking at that makeup, that backline is saying to me, Voss is saying, you boys are going to give it. You boys are going to take it. They've got the worst efficiency inside 50.
Yeah,
I think Carlton will run over them in the second half. I'm going to go 75 points, Carlton.
Jesus Christ.
And I reckon you're going to see the return of Sam Walsh. Sam Walsh is going to take the pina colada.
I hope you're right. I hope you're absolutely right. But I just get this. I get this inkling that it's just for some reason or another, I just get this inkling it's going to be a grind. I don't know why, but I look back at last year and I look at the way we're playing this year. I mean, we've been down a little bit in the last couple of weeks. 2 losses and a win. But look, this is a game where you can rebound and hopefully hit some form. So, yeah, I don't know about 70 to 100 points, but look, it could very well be. I think if we go on one of those huge momentum surges that we've seen, in the opening few weeks, and we get ahead by 40, or if we get ahead by 40 to 50 points, I think it'll end up really blowing out. This will be the game where we don't let the team back in. But my head is saying it's going to be a grind, and it'll be between 4 to 6 goals.
Well, we've gone one big, we've gone one little one. I have got a message from Let Dog as well. He is 100%. He is 100% at the moment, apart from the Gold Coast game. So that's not 100%, but he is guaranteeing the win by 5 goals minimum this week.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So couple of ones coming in. Get Nooms out. He's shit. You can't say that about COVID Nooms. He's everywhere. Honestly, I've got to say, he was disappointing last week. I did enjoy the fact he actually got the ball inside 50. I am absolutely flabbergasted Carroll's not there. Absolutely flabbergasted. But,
yeah.
I mean, the good thing about Nooms, he looks pretty good in the Guernsey, to be fair. He's probably the best-looking Carlton player in the Guernsey.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't rate games, or they grant premiership points for that, Pommy.
Yeah, and we've got another one here. Rio. I don't know if Rio is at the TAB with Jaden. But he's saying Sam Walsh gets carried by Patrick Cripps. When Cripps plays good, Walsh plays good. Well, I mean, Cripps has been good all year, has he not? And the big thing with Walsh is he's massively down on his inside 50 numbers. So I think that's the challenge Vossi has. How does he free up Chera? How does he free up Walsh and make them play together in that free-flowing way? Because at the moment, Walsh this season's kind of like a Sam Mitchell, Travis Boak type player. He's been the conduit. You kind of want him at the end of it. I
think the thing that might also play in our favour too, just looking at it, is the fact that we score heavily from stoppages. Well, we score heavily from centre clearances. And I think if North are going to play defensively, I think the 6-6-6 setup obviously favours us, clearly. But again, I mean, once sort of play opens up and all that. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to really open up the play. And that's why I'm really excited about seeing Liam Stocker come into the team, because for all the, for all the kicking accolades that he does have too, and I think he's going to be able to release us out of halfback, which is something we haven't been able to do. I actually think defensively he was quite strong on the weekend, and I think Daniel O'Keefe also made mention of that. He said that Stocker's balance between defense and attack was much better. And that's good to see too, because, even if you are playing an attacking halfback role, you still need to be able to defend at times. So I'm excited to see him back. We know how good he looked in the latter stages of last year. So he's an exciting player to watch, and he's a bloody tough bugger too.
He is indeed. The beautiful Toby sending you a bit of love, wishing you luck doing the VFL call. Make sure you check him out. Before we go, Paolo.
Yes.
We're going to put a bit of pressure on you and the audience as well. I want you to give me your ridiculously bold call. So don't go something safe. I'm looking at 100-1 multi here. I want a big one. What's going to be a big call? I'll start. I'm going to say Jack Nooms at the end of this game will be in the coaches' votes.
Oh, Jesus.
Come at me.
Bold call. Corey Durden, 4 goals or more.
Oof.
4 goals or more.
I like that.
Yeah.
Throw your ones in. We've got Matty Boy. He agrees. Jack Nooms is the goal. Honestly, give the guy some love. Honestly, if I was the president of this football club, he would be the guy who promotes the shirt. Because I tell you what, that thing is watertight on him. Watertight. I wouldn't wear clothes if I had his body. It's pretty good.
Is that why you're wearing the shirt tonight, mate?
It's a bit baggy as well. Hide the loose bit. Chera to kick 3. How do you say Chera's name? People tell me off because of my Yorkshire accent. Give me it in Italian.
Chera. You got to roll the R.
Yeah. Why my wife is miserable because my tongue doesn't roll that way. Harry and Charlie kick 8. TDK 3 goals. Terence
Terence. Hello, mate. That's a good.
He actually runs the Lockie O'Brien fan club. Google that. Carlton lose by 40. Larky kicks 10. Jesus.
That's 100-1.
TDK first goal. Tim Wilkes, 35 possessions. Rio Walsh does a hamstring.
Yeah, that's very good. Yep.
Very Jesus, good, mate. Walsh will break the disposal record. I like that one. Well done, Riley. 56 touches. I love it. Combined for 12. Well, that is us. Much love. We love you all. We hope we've entertained you. We will be back next week. Paolo will be waiting in the wings if Fleckdog thinks that I'm a university dating scene and he can just buy me off again. Make sure you check Paolo out. He is on Jumper Punch Tuesdays at 8 p.m. He's on the VFL. He's pretty much everywhere, Paolo.
I know, mate. It's been a very busy week, and it will continue to be a busy week. So, Twitter at PaulSeb05, and I will see you tomorrow night on the Blue Broad channel. We've done our PPI. Paolo and Pommy Investigates, part 3, the final part. and we have done the VFL call. Well, I'll be at the VFL calling the game for the AFL website. So tune into that. And if you're at the ground, come say hello.
And make sure you slide into Paolo's DMs. He is single. We can't keep him single for too long. Now. I'll be back next week. See you on the watch along. See you tomorrow night for PPI. Much love.
Hooroo.